the Confederates.
They're complicit in everything.
Same
It isn't
mindset.
Trump. Trump is not the problem. Everybody that is for what Trump is about.
Our small group was on fire and probably could go on. um,
Pastor David, can I say something that I wanted to say at the beginning? I know it's not discussion time, but I feel
go
like
for,
it's
go
very
for it.
important.
Go
I
for
just,
it, my sister.
thank you. Beloved community, I'm sure that most of you have heard, but we did have a horrific death of a precious immigrant um, in one of the raids that happened at the Glass House Farms. And this precious man was so scared that because he was being hunted like an animal and he was hiding on a third story and he fell. And I want us to say his name because he is worthy of he was worthy of more than what he was given. He's worthy of dignity, and we're going to give him that now. Jaime Alanis Garcia. Say his name.
Jaime Alanis Garcia.
Garcia.
May you rest in peace.
Yeah.
And there is a GoFundMe through VC Defensa. So and a couple organizations. So anyway, I just wanted us to collectively give this man the respect that he deserves. Thank you all.
Thank you, Marcy. His GoFundMe last night was, I mean, the amount was way bigger than the amount they were asking for when he was hospitalized. And I think that it wouldn't hurt to keep doing it just to help his family.
Yeah, I think it had reached over $100,000.
Yeah, that, yes. Who knows where it is now? But thank you, Anna. Thank you, Marcy. When I say the name Judas, pretty much everybody knows who is being talked about. It's a name that not too many parents give their babies. The one who gained 30 pieces of silver, but lost his way in the process. And there are people today who, in the interest of getting more, who now have everything, are suffering from spiritual desolation, from depression, from burnout. And they are Judas today. This past Tuesday was like most Mondays over the past few months. And when I say that, my son Matthew, he observed how things for many people calmed down a little bit over the weekend, but every Monday, every week is like another episode of a drama that we're living. And so, since last week was a holiday weekend, I just want to share with you some things that were said on Tuesday to start this past week. Secretary Kristi Noem, talking about the Texas floods, said these words: "I'm extremely grateful for God's hand in that whole situation because hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people were saved." Benjamin Netanyahu this past Tuesday said to Donald Trump, speaking of Gaza, "If people want to stay, they can, but if they want to leave, they should be allowed to. It shouldn't be a prison. It should be an open space and allow people free choice." White House press secretary said, that's Caroline Leavitt, "Attorney General Pam Bondi never claimed there was a Jeffrey Epstein client list. Vice President J.D. Vance, who once called Trump a moral disaster and possibly America's Hitler, this past Tuesday said, now we have a president who actually knows how to accomplish America's national security objectives. And the things I'd like to cover over the next few minutes reflect not just the soul of the current administration, I'm not just talking about government. I don't want to leave out the billionaire class, mostly oil companies and Silicon Valley, especially the big four, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and Meta. Through big tech and venture capital, they have arguably extended neo-colonial influence deeper into everyday life of the people of Latin America, Africa, and South Asia than the conquistadores and all of the quote unquote explorers of the 15th and 16th centuries. These are all contemporary Judas Iscariots of the world. And you'll see what I'm saying in a moment. There's a scene during the Last Supper where Jesus says, the Son of Man, or the human one, the Son of Man, the human one, will go just as it is written about him. But woe to that man who betrays the Son of Man. It would be better for him if he had not been born. Betraying the human one, betraying humanity. What are you saying, Jesus? I mean, it would be better for him if he had not been born? Let that sink in. It would be better for him if he had not been born. Now, and like probably most of you, when I was younger, I used to think that this was speaking about the fires of hell, right? That Judas was going to end up burning in hell forever. But Judas betrayed humanity when he betrayed Jesus. You know, we tend to think of the betrayal of Jesus, but Jesus is the human one, the Son of Man. So Jesus is betrayed, but everyone is betrayed. Judas betrayed humanity, including his own humanity. And so when Jesus says it would be better for him if he had not been born, there is this calculus that he's addressing, that it's possible for a person to have taken more than they have given. And that's abnormal. That's an aberration. It is inhumane. It is unhuman to take and not give. Jesus says in Matthew 16, what good will it be for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? To lose your soul doesn't only mean ending up in hell. In Greek, the word psyche, translated soul, also means life, self, essence. Jesus is saying you can become so consumed with status, wealth, success, comfort, power, that you lose your truest self, your integrity, your calling, your reason for existing, your aliveness. You can gain the world and yet be dead inside, driven by fear, pride, addiction to control, or addiction to the approval of others. This is soul loss, not just in eternity. These are people who have hollowed themselves out. Think of the rich young ruler who walked away from Jesus, walked away from the human one, walked away from humanity. It says in Mark 10 that he walked away sorrowful. Some of these Judases, they sound, as I quoted earlier, they sound soulless. Some of them look soulless. I mean, this is what I think whenever I see the image of Marco Rubio come up on my screen. He looks like somebody who's lost his soul. And when you lose your soul, you lose a connection to your humanity. You're isolated. You pay the price of being disconnected, always looking over your shoulder, being possibly betrayed yourself. You become part of a machine of oppression. And you get the idea there's an illusion that is the way to go. That's the only option we have is to strive to get everything no matter what it costs us. And then you consider the words of Peter to Jesus when he says, "We've left everything to follow you." And you know what Jesus is saying in response? You know what? You haven't really left anything. I want to say to everybody listening right now, you haven't lost a thing to follow your conscience. You haven't lost a thing to stay connected to your true self, your humanity. You haven't lost a thing. Sometimes it may seem like you're losing something. Sometimes you are like Jesus and there's a Judas. Somebody's broken your heart. Somebody has shocked you with their betrayal of humanity. I mean, you look and you see how people behave and you're like, I can't believe this. No, but how can you think this way? How can you be this way? How can you be so heartless? And so when Peter says, we've left everything to follow you, Jesus responded by saying, truly, I tell you, no one who has left home or brothers or sisters or mother or father or children or fields for me and the good news, no one who has left these things will fail to receive 100 times as much in this present age. Homes, brothers, sisters, mothers, children, and fields, along with persecutions. Hey, don't think it's strange, folks, when you're an outcast. But Jesus says, listen, along with the outcast part of your life, there are renewed and new connections. And Jesus says, in the age to come, eternal life. But many who are first will be last, and the last first. You see, we might feel like we've been marginalized, pushed aside, abandoned, but it just is not the case. I say to you, you've got so many siblings, so many siblings. You've got so many parents. You've got so many children and so much property and houses. You've got more than you could imagine. This is to say that we've got family and a place to be everywhere. Let's reboot our thinking. Take a moment. You've got somebody near, you've got somebody far. Look out for them. Look in on them. I'm not telling you something you don't do, but I'm here to reinforce that. Show some appreciation for your family. Maybe not blood related, but they're as close as anything you've got. Shh. Listen, if you would have betrayed humanity, you would not have this. You might think you have it, but you'd always be living in a state of paranoia. They're out to get me. They want to take my job. They want to take my property. They want to take my friendship. They want to take my love. You know what? They can't take what's yours. And yet, in the words of Jesus, the afterlife is not absent from this conversation, because Jesus does believe in ultimate accountability before God. And so in the same passage, he says, when the Son of Man comes in the Father's glory. So he's referring to something more. I honestly could not give you details on that. Sometimes ringing in my consciousness is are the words of my former professor at UC Santa Barbara in religious studies, Walter Capps. He said, "Yet I don't know what it looks like, but everybody is going to give an account one way or another." But to summarize, Jesus was not only warning about hell after death, he was speaking to the way that we can compromise and fragment and lose ourselves in this life by chasing things that can never satisfy. His message is a plea for wholeness, for integrity of soul, for living fully into the reign of God now, the realm of God in this moment. And so while the main emphasis, or at least some part of the emphasis, is on the afterlife, Jesus is teaching about the implications of the now, the soul, your true self, your full self. And we're rich, folks. I'll close by just saying this. Just don't betray humanity. When you betray humanity, and I know you won't, but if you betrayed your humanity, you be betraying your own humanity. Thank you, God, for giving us the grace. Sometimes I will call it grace because as intentional as this has been, sometimes we have felt like we have accidentally stumbled into this wondrous life, this amazing life that we lead now. Sometimes we feel undeserving, but we're here. You've been good. You are good. We give you thanks. I'm looking for Linnea. There you are. With Ernie.
Okay. Thank you, Pastor. I really appreciate your affirming words. As somebody who has been in a place of great earthly possessions and somebody who has been through extended times of nothing. This really rang true for me. And I see the contrast of, having everything but feeling half dead and having high risk, not having everything you need, and yet feeling so complete and full of joy. So thank you for that affirmation. Anybody want to jump in and ask questions, comments?
Yes. Can you hear me, Pastor?
We hear
Yes.
you.
Hi, Jacob.
Here's a question I've been having for a couple weeks. Do you take joy in knowing that Donald Trump and other people will have to deal with Satan in the afterlife?
You're asking me.
Yeah.
I hope so.
I
Okay.
had the question for about a year and a half, and now it feels appropriate.
Jacob, that's a good question, and I will say this, because you're asking, you specified me, and I will say this, I I do not have I no longer have an idea of a kind of personal Satan. I think Satan is systemic. That it is what Jesus is talking about when he talks about the world. And so it is the illusion, the it is the unreal, it is the deception in our existence. So, I tell you what's on my mind right now, just because it's on top. My son Matt and I went to see Superman a couple of nights ago. And one of the things that stood out is that, well, first of all, Matt observed this. Sorry, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but Superman loses a lot in this movie. He loses the fights, but he wins the movie. and the you get towards the end, and there's still an opportunity being extended to the opponent. And the word Satan means opponent, adversary, nemesis. There's still mercy being extended to Lex Luthor and all of the hateful ones. And there's even a moment where Lex Luthor sheds a tear. So there's this profound permission being given to change, even towards those who refuse to change. And I will say this about Judas Iscariot. As you know in the story, he ends up taking his own life after betraying Jesus. I think it's not so much that he's going to, as many church doctrines say, suicide is a sin and that would cause you to go to hell. I think Judas recognized that he lost his soul. And maybe his response was the recognition of what had happened. Because those folks that I listed, like so right now it says Stephen Miller and Peter Thiel. Yeah, these folks don't recognize who they are and their betrayal of humanity. But Judas did. So you know, for what that's worth, that may not even be a satisfactory answer, but it's my answer.
That's a good one. And Bob, did you have something to say? I can't see everybody's hands with this device, so just jump in if you have something to say.
I had my hand up for 1 second, just real quick for Jacob. So, Jacob, this new Christianity thing, I'm kind of a newer, and I don't like to call myself a Christian, but a newer follower of Jesus, and it coincides with my recovery. And there's a saying in recovery that religion is for people that fear going to hell, but spirituality is for people who have been there. And I think that heaven and hell thing can be much more of a current state of how you are existing. And if you
Yeah.
see these people, they are in hell.
They are in hell.
They
Yeah.
are in hell living it because they
Yeah.
are confused by what they're doing, believing they're righteous in what they're doing. But guess what? We are also in the benefit of knowing that it's wrong, and that is heaven in itself.
Yeah. Kind of along the lines of C.S. Lewis's idea that the afterlife just kind of continues along the lines of the choices you've made throughout life. Because you made those choices because you kind of prefer them. Anyone else?
Go ahead, Bob.
Well, I didn't actually have my hand raised, but
okay.
but let's keep it. But I will say a couple of things. First about the demonic, the world, and all of that. It's I think it was Karl Barth didn't believe in demons, but he believed in demonic activity. And it's kind of like what you were saying, David, about like the mass of people can be brought under the sway of something, and the idea becomes even bigger and distorts their humanity to such an extent that they do horrible things. Like, we always point to Nazi Germany, but, American slavery, there's so many examples of that happens. And just secondly, I had a professor in seminary named Ray Anderson. And he wrote a book called The Gospel of Judas, or The Gospel According to Judas. And it's all about Judas and Jesus meeting in the afterlife, because they would have entered that space, whatever it looks like, roughly the same period of time. And Jesus has this. It's like a chapter of conversation and a chapter of theology, goes back and forth like that. And in the conversation, Jesus is actually talking to him about his humanity. I don't remember if Ray used the word itself, but that's exactly kind of what that was about. He gave away his humanity, and then in the end, that was the thing that troubled him the most. So, anyway, maybe not
Do you
2
remember
cents, maybe a penny and a half.
Do you remember the name of that book, Bob?
Yeah. It's called the original title was The Gospel According to Judas. I know it was republished again, like he wrote it like back in the 80s. And so it was republished again in the early 21st century, and the title was shifted a little bit, but I found it by Googling Ray Anderson, The Gospel According to Judas.
Thank you. So Christ, in that Bible verse you read, was speaking to the implications for now. I really like that. Not to disregard the afterlife and what happens there. And later you said that Satan is in the systemic entities, which kind of reminded me of yet another book that we used to read. Walter, what's his last name?
Wink.
Walter
Wink.
Walter Wink. Yeah. Encountering the systemic. I don't remember a title. Does anyone remember a title? Engaging the powers.
Yep, that's it.
Of
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
He wrote a lot of books about that theme.
Yes.
Incidentally, Linnea's brother collaborated on one book with Wink.
Oh,
Oh, right.
great.
Awesome.
I like that theory because, well, first of all, there is some scripture that backs that. But secondly, when I think ill of what's going on in the world, I don't have to necessarily pinpoint straight to certain individuals. So that keeps me from being really or feeling like I'm being judgmental. I can just say it's systemic. But
Yeah.
but of course, then there's the danger of opting out of changing things because who wants to tackle a system? The system's like a steamroller. Oh, you want to tackle a system? Okay, Clint.
Yeah, but
I love
but
systems. Systems are just like this. I'm going to tell you something. If anybody in this room likes math, it's as simple as addition. You know what? A system has an outcome, which is going to be your solution, and you're going to have certain things that have to add up. It really does become simple. I did it at the rescue mission. I organized their entire system they had, which was been operating for 20 years inefficiently. I went in, seen it from an outsider's perspective, made it easy, and made it so that people in the community that came through to use the services there were accounted for and
Mhm.
actually given the proper services they needed, not just
Yeah.
some food and shelter that didn't solve their problem. You know
Good.
what? Systems can be fixed. That's what we got to do, though, is stand up together like we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
organize, and because we're going to need the numbers. You know what? The wars are fought on many fronts. You know what? You have soldiers on the front line, but you have people that have the Underground Railroad. You have people that can
Mm-hmm.
protect people. You have people that have had Anne Frank in their attic. We can all do something, and we're doing it by talking about it, calling it for what it is, and not being Judas's.
So systems provide order. Oh, okay.
I would say that we are actually overturning a system whenever
Yeah.
we hold on to our humanity.
Mm-hmm.
If we, just to be
Marcy's.
human, we're gonna have opportunities to compromise, to sell out. It's gonna they're go- those moments are going to show up. Those moments are going to show up where we want to make it easier on ourselves. It's gonna, that's what temptation is. That's what the temptations of Jesus were about. And we're going to be tempted to give up our humanity. But every time we hold on to our humanity, it's attacking the system. It's upturning the system.
Beautiful. And somebody said Marcy had her hand up.
Diane
And
does.
If not, Diane does.
unmute, Diane.
Oh, I was just going to say Marcy's had her hand up for quite a while.
Oh.
So, Marcy? Go ahead, my sister. Okay, I just wanted to be sure everybody knows that this Thursday at 7:30 in Santa Barbara, there's a chance to be together with a vigil thinking of John Lewis causing good trouble, a call for us to cause good trouble. So down on Cabrillo, centered at Stearns Wharf, 7:30, a vigil.
Diane in Ventura, it's 4 to 7 at the Government Center. 4 to 7. John Lewis, Good Troubles.
Great.
I have an idea, guys. We can
Let's
actually
say it.
organize something.
I think Jade was going to say something.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Oh, okay. Maybe not. I saw you unmuted it.
I'm never at a loss for words, but
I saw this goes with what was just being said. What Diane was saying. I saw a post on social media with a picture of Benjamin Netanyahu, and the caption said, raise your hand if you hate this man.
Mm.
And my visceral response is, there's an opportunity for me to lose my humanity. You know, I'm never raising my hand for hate ever. That's exactly what the system is trying to get us to do.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Clint.
Okay, so if anybody, I just seen that Scott posted at 6 p.m. to 7:30 up there in Santa Maria. If I don't know where they're doing it in Santa Maria, but if anybody isn't aware of this, the local ICE office is located on Century Avenue. You'll find it right off of McCoy, and you can turn, and it's right in Santa Maria. It's a great little location. And if we had like maybe, I don't know, 600 or 700 people just show up peacefully, it really might make a difference. I don't know why ain't nobody in Santa Maria hasn't been over at their office. I mean, because I know it's right next to parole and everything, but I'm no longer on parole. So if anybody ever wants to meet up over there, we can go have some signs and just ask a few nice questions like, what are they doing in our community?
That's
Yeah,
a great
I'm not either.
suggestion.
Neither you and me together, we're not on parole, Clint. That's cool.
I know VC Defensa has been doing that in Ventura, just going early morning to the ICE office and just letting them know that there are people there that want to take care of other people. And that's got to make some of those officers think, and those who are recording it at great risk now.
I just wanted to say that I have a really, really good friend. He actually used to be my boyfriend a long time ago, who's retired Army. He was an MP. And then when he got out honorably, he went into the prison systems as a prison guard. And then when he left there, he went into, and as a lot of them do, they go into the National Guard. So they every 3 months they'll go in, or if something happens, And so I asked him, I said, what's going on with this National Guard? What, give me your thoughts. What do you think about what's going on in LA? And he said, Jade, I'm going to tell you right now, they don't want to be there. They are following orders. He goes, look at their faces. There's no smiling. There's no laughter. They're not talking to each other. They're blank. He said they cannot express how they really feel. And I'm telling you right now, they do not want to be there against their citizens. They just don't. Right. And so it just my heart goes out that these guys are being deployed, because, once you sign on the dotted line, you don't own yourself anymore. Right. Legally, you belong to the government and you follow orders, or you get dishonorably discharged. Even if you're in the National Guard, you lose benefits and whatnot. And he just said, I'm telling you right now, they don't want to be there. They don't. And neither do the Marines, for the most part.
Yeah.
Then they should quit.
Well, I'm thinking about the Nuremberg trials, about people. I mean, what was the common refrain? I was
just taking orders.
Just following the orders.
Yeah. Indeed.
So, yeah, I mean.
But with that knowledge and what we know from World War II and the Nuremberg trials, it's even more important for us to call them on it when we see them to their face and let them know, hey, you're us. We're you. What are you doing?
I got a shout out to
you guys. These are young men. They're young, and women.
Babies.
Young people.
Yeah.
I got a shout out to Ana Garcia and Chelsea Lancaster. I saw the recording of them confronting.
I was just going to say the same thing.
Oh, okay. You say it then, Matt. Go ahead, Matt.
Oh, that's exactly what Chelsea and Anna did, and many others at the action. But I just saw both of their lives of confronting the men of, like, you have the opportunity to change. You can switch sides. Like, you are a part of that. A part of the dehumanizing faction. Like, you are. Like, this is weak. You come to the side of strength. Like, this is not it. And so, and they use many other choice words, but so it's like and they saw it in their faces, and they saw and I think just
psychological war. They wage psychological warfare against ICE.
So
You know, here's something. Sorry, I got an idea too. So, what if we started a GoFundMe as a fund for ex-ICE officers, ex-National
Yeah.
Guards, anybody who decides that they don't want to be a part of it? And guess what? They're going to need help with their rent, their
Yep.
food, and stuff like that. If we
Okay,
start a
hey,
GoFundMe,
Clint, you start that, and I'll be your first donor.
yeah, I'll figure out how to do it because you know
All
what? It's
right.
important.
Yeah.
Clint,
So
I
you
was
can-
thinking the same thing of like, because I heard recently that ICE people are only getting paid like $60,000 a year. Like it's a very like low wage for
How
whatever they're
much?
doing. And the
60,000 a year, I think.
yeah, and so like and I was thinking about your skill of like systems and like I know ICE is not military, but people in National Guard, like what Jade was saying, like they know systems, they know how to get stuff done. And so like what if we were to create a liberatory Palantir, you know? Like what if we were to create like liberatory businesses and systems or liberatory like I don't know, like data centers, you know, like how do we, and so like, hey, here's $100,000 option. If you decide to
Mhm.
defect, we have an opportunity for you,
We
you know,
can
to come
create our
create
own
this business of
nonprofit.
that's in the way of benefiting humanity. There you go. Nonprofits can own businesses.
Nonprofits are any business that helps the community, and these can be neighborhood protection. And you know what they'll be doing? They'll be doing the same thing they're doing, except for not taking people out of the community, but making sure people don't get taken out of the community.
Sure, sure. And there's a lot of, you know, things that need to have overwatch on that. And, you know, it can't just be, and because those things can get co-opted easily too. So,
Yeah.
but, you know, so, but yeah, like what is the way out? Just kind of like addiction. Like there has to be an alternative for somebody to go to, an incentive, you know,
yes.
there has to be an action that they're able to replace. You can't just replace,
Yeah.
drinking alcohol and just tell them to stop. They have to have an action that they go to. So,
Support group.
yeah.
Michael's got his hand up.
White Supremacist Anonymous.
There you go. Michael.
Okay, two things. First, many of the quote ICE agents are not ICE
Right.
agents.
That's right.
They are not trained. They are hooligans. They even in a couple of the posts I've seen, they are admitted by ICE that they're subcontractors or assigned contractors, much like Blackwater has been supporting our horrible U.S. military adventures around the world. Okay, don't feel I can't tell you that.
Hired
I'm a
marks.
very compassionate person, and I have absolutely no compassion for these hooligans. But second
Hired
thing,
marks.
you were talking about acts of courage and standing up to the man. I just want to shout out to one of the most fabulous individuals I've come to know in this last year, Leo Martinez. He's the primary leader of VC Defensa. Leo Martinez is a very courageous, articulate, and fierce warrior. If you get a chance to go on the VC Defensa webpage and Facebook or Instagram, I hope you can see this. It's been in some mainstream media other than that too. About 3 weeks ago, when ICE pulled over in Ventura County a bus that had about 100 workers on it that were legally entitled to be workers. It wasn't H1, but it was some similarly legal group of workers. ICE pulled them over, started their routine crap with them. Leo and the defensive team showed up, and luckily it's on video. Leah schooled these guys, and he is a very formidable, physically and mentally and emotionally powerful person. Just with his words, he had this ICE agent cowering and backing away. And I just, if
Three
you
of them.
see that reel, I hope you do. That's all. Thanks.
Well, here's where Michael and I'm a little squeamish about that video, even though I did repost it. I later started thinking, oh, that's, you know, to shame them. Is that for me, there's got to be something else, some other way of persuasion besides shaming, right?
Oh, how about rubber bullets and canisters of gas?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, in prison, that's what they use. I never thought I would see it on the streets.
Mm.
See, tear gas, I can tell you what, and this is something that's not really proud to admit, but I can take tear gas pretty well. I'm used to it. Now, you know, it still chokes you up a little bit, but I'm used to it. Rubber bullets, I've seen people get knocked unconscious from rubber bullets.
Yeah,
You know, they're deadly within a certain
they
range.
are.
And they're inhumane. You know, they talk of, you know, non-lethal. Why are you shooting another American
How about
for any
shooting a
reason?
pregnant woman with a
Pregnant
rubber
women and
bullet?
children, throwing flash grenades and flashbangs on them. You know what? This is if you know, and I'm not for violence either, but I'm gonna tell you what, I am about defending yourself.
Mhm.
You don't have to take a beating.
Anna
You know
Rosa,
what?
Anna Rosa just put in the chat that she was there and got gassed. Do you want to talk about that, Anna Rosa?
Yeah, it was just pretty horrific. I've been tear gassed before, so it's not my first time, but in the past, at least they would like, sorry, I'm not in the condition to be off on video right now. But I'm gonna check later for that one. I think Pastor Moore was trying to get me to put the video on. But anyway, I was saying that usually they'll throw out a couple of warning ones at first to see if people will disperse, and then they escalate. But this time they didn't even put out any warning ones. They threw out the whole barrage at the same time. I just saw different clouds of different colors of smoke. There was yellow, pink, and green, and I just saw kids all around me running, pregnant women. Uh, it was, yeah, it was just really horrific, and just that level of inhumanity. Um, I guess I should stop being surprised by it, but I have to believe in the best of humans, so I am still surprised by it. Um, and it just made me feel that much more committed to this fight and that we all need all hands on deck to keep fighting. I'm not one to reply to comments on the internet because I feel like, you know, usually it's just a waste of time. But like right now on my own page, I'm going back and forth with my fucking cousin of all people. Was like, oh, you know, people need to do things legally and blah blah blah. And I was like, well, slavery was legal, so the
Right.
law is not correct 100% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that should not be the argument, but it's just like I'm also trying not to let it consume me entirely because like Friday was my birthday and I
Happy birthday, Ana Rosa.
Happy birthday.
thank you.
Happy birthday.
Feliz cumpleaños.
And that too, yeah.
We ended up canceling my birthday thing last night because a lot of us were responding to families who've been harmed by the raids. So you know, um, it's just a very strange time. I don't know how else to say it.
You know, I have a counterintuitive approach to this. I have been out protesting ICE in Santa Maria during the first administration of Trump. I was down at Century Street and protesting there. A couple of times we had probably a couple hundred people. And I have not been there this time around. I've been thinking about doing it. The problem is Century Street is out of view unless you get a crowd. You'll get some press. We don't have much press up here either, which is a problem. But everything I'm hearing is good. I'll just share this, and I don't know if it's right or wrong. When I protested, one day went out by myself. Maybe I've shared this with folks already. At Broadway and Main. It's a business intersection in Santa Maria, and my sign said, "ICE have mercy."
Yeah. Yeah.
And somebody taped me, and now I was put on TikTok, and there's 930,000 views. Kind of silly, some old white guy for 15 seconds. But
yeah.
And I got to know the first director of the ice facility here. He's retired now, up in Santa Maria. And I had to help coach one of his kids in soccer. I was also one of the appellants, formal appellants that tried to stop that building from being built, actually. They used to have that facility at the prison in Lompoc. And actually, I'm kind of glad now it's here in Santa Maria because we can get to it as opposed to going onto the prison grounds. But I do think they have a vulnerability because a lot of them are fathers, and I guess there's some mothers there too. And I wonder sometimes if that doesn't get to them. Like, what would you like to happen to your children? What would this be like? And it's a different approach. It's easy for me to say this as a white guy because I'm not going to get in trouble. Well, could be arrested for potentially interfering with the process. But it is something to consider too. Is they're human. I'm pissed as hell at all of them. But I wonder if that's something to get to them with, and so it's compassion in a sense. All for
Standing up for humanity, being human. That's
we want to tell people you're better than this.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Bonnie's hand's been up for quite a bit.
sorry, Bonnie. Go ahead.
That's okay. I forgot what I was going to talk about, so don't worry about it. I had a question or something. So,
Okay,
anyway.
how about Julia?
Hey guys, I was thinking about I love what you said about Stephen Miller and Marco Rubio, and like what Scott just said, you need to have a conscience for that. Same thing with the story of Judas. Like, at some point, his conscience came back. You know what I mean? But there's some, like, the difference between Marco Rubio. I love how you can see it. That man has lost his soul, right? He looks completely empty. And compared to Stephen Miller has that little crazy ass gleam in his eye. You know what I'm saying?
I
So the difference between them, it made me think of the narcissist and the empath. And from what I understand, which makes perfect sense to me, is that both the narcissist and the empath, they encounter some kind of trauma in their youth. You know what I'm saying? Something happens to them. And the empath continues their path in life saying, I never want this to happen to anyone else. I never want another person to feel the way I feel. So, you it's just a whole way of living. Whereas the narcissist goes through the rest of their life saying, if I had to feel this way, you're going to feel this way. You know what I mean? And those are the ones that have that gleam in their eye. Those are the ones that their conscience is broken. You know what I'm saying? So all of this, whatever we say, it doesn't work. It's completely ineffective. They would rather see everyone suffer because then you'll know what I went through. You know what I'm saying? That made sense to me. That's why the narcissist and the empath have this magnetic pull to each other, right?
Yeah.
And the narcissist wonders, how is it that the empath can continue to be so loving? You know what I'm saying? After everything that they've been through, right? Same. So these people are saying, how can these, Mexicans and minorities, how is it that they continue, despite? So
Reach that, Julia.
I feel it.
Bouncing off of that,
Right.
It's the narcissist who gleefully looks at scriptures and finds, those that will seemingly support his stance of hatred and violence.
Yeah. And feed
so
off that.
Part of our job then, I guess, would be demonstrating and verbalizing what the truth of the gospel is.
Well,
Ooh.
everybody, thank you, Linnea, for helping to facilitate. Thank you, everybody, for being who you are, for being compassionate, for being human. And so Bob's going to lead us in communion.
Okay. Thank you, Pastor David. Back around, I think it was Easter, we were talking about the atonement. How does the death of Jesus on the cross, how does that become something beneficial for us? And of course, one of the things that was mentioned is how we're all kind of, or many of us anyway, have had our thinking so shaped by what's called substitutionary penal atonement, the idea that God is angry with us and takes out that anger on Jesus so he doesn't have to take it out on us. And we're so steeped in it, it's sometimes hard to read the scriptures without that seeping in. And so I wanted, before doing the communion, I just wanted to touch on one thing. So one of the things that makes it hard for us is, of course, is the Old Testament teachings on sacrifice, the way the Israelites went to the temple and they slaughtered animals and all that. It seems so consistent with the idea that God's angry and his anger has to be appeased. And of course, the book of Hebrews says specifically that the blood of goats and bulls doesn't actually do anything. But so the idea in the Old Testament times was actually reconciliation. So if you and I were friends and I did something to you that hurt you, then what I would do to make it better is I would bring you the thing that was most valuable to me, and I would give you that thing. And by giving you that thing, I'm not saying that my fault didn't happen. I'm not saying that you need to pretend it didn't happen. What I'm saying is my relationship with you is so important that I'm giving the very best that I have for you. And so when they were told in the Old Testament times, bring the best of the flock, bring your best sheep, your best goat, perfect without fault and all that, it was with that in mind. They weren't saying to God, hey, this bull or this sheep or whatever is taking away is appeasing your anger. They weren't saying that at all. They were saying my relationship with you is so important that I want to give what's most valuable. So come into the New Testament time, and to us, the idea is still there, but it's flipped a little bit. In the New Testament, the perspective is that people have distanced themselves from God as much by, and consistent with our sermon today, as much by moving away from their humanity as anything. And so God, to reconcile, gave the best that he had. So that's one way to look at the atonement. So if you have your implements. So Paul writes in 1 Corinthians, for I received from the Lord what I also passed on to you. The Lord Jesus, on the night he was betrayed, took bread, and when he had given thanks, he broke it and said, this is my body, which is for you. Do this in remembrance of me. In the same way, after supper, he took the cup, saying, this cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this whenever you drink in the remembrance of me. For whenever you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the Lord's death till he comes. So let's pray before we partake. So, Lord, we thank you for life. We thank you for humanity. We thank you for our soul. And we ask that you would guide us in your gentle and serendipitous way to live fully into our humanity, for not just our sake, but for the sake of those around us and those we have a relationship with. We thank you that you embraced humanity so that we might be connected to you and to your greatest purpose. In Jesus' name. So go ahead and partake.